Bucknutters, welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, May 15th, 2017. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm joined by the people's champ himself, Matt Baxendell. Bax, it was, of course, reported over the weekend that JaQuan Lyle quit Ohio State's basketball team back on April 11th. This news came to light after Lyle was arrested in Indiana for 3 misdemeanor offenses over the weekend, including public intoxication, disorderly conduct. He punched a cop's car at one point. Okay, so everyone took this face value when an OSU spokesman came out over the weekend and said, oh, Lyle actually quit the team back on April 11th. However, I am not buying that story, and here is why. All right, so I'm supposed to believe that JaQuan Lyle quit the team over a month ago, and nothing at all would leak out about that. Nothing at all, not from any other reporter, no website. Nothing's going to leak out about that at all over a month in this day and age. I find that hard to believe. But there's more to it than that. I think the much more likely scenario with JaQuan Lyle is he was already on a short leash. He might have been in Thad Matta's doghouse or something to that extent. And his arrest over the weekend was the final straw, and he was kicked off the team. That's just my take. I think he was kicked off the team, and Ohio State did Lyle a solid by saying publicly he wasn't kicked off. He actually quit the team over a month ago. And here's one more thing, Bax. We can't forget, last Wednesday, May 10th, Lyle was still posting pictures of himself on Twitter in a Buckeye uniform. I think if you add it all up, I think it's pretty clear-cut here. He was kicked off the team, and Ohio State's doing him a solid by saying he quit over a month ago. Am I way off? What's your take?
Well, I hope your take's the right take. I think that the issue with this whole situation is, A, it's obviously another sign of decay in this program, but B, I think that if Lyle quit the team, it's very weird they specifically said April 11th, right? Like it's not like they said back in April. They said April 11th. They gave us an exact date. You know, it seems pretty specific for a complete cover-up. Now, I totally buy that he was thrown off the team. I don't know if he necessarily quit. I actually believe you on that one, too, that it makes a lot of sense to say, hey, you know, Thad threw him off the team for whatever reason, right? But I have a lot of trouble believing it just because of, look what Darius Baisley said whenever he decommitted, right? He said all this stuff about how the future doesn't look so bright, and a lot of it was fairly surprising. Well, it's a lot less surprising if he knows JaQuan Lyle's not going to be around to play with him for his freshman year, right? And I look at it and I think, man, maybe OSU's doing him a solid in some way, shape, or form saying that, you know, he quit the team. But I wonder if he was already on sort of a suspension or something where, hey, you know, you're not involved in team activities till June. Go get your act together, right? And this was kind of the final straw of, you know, hey, you're not coming back. You're done, right? I could see that being the case. You know, and that's the thing is maybe on April 11th is when Thad told him to go home and get his head straight, come back for the summer and don't screw up. And since he did screw up, it's officially over, and they're just saying he quit on April 11th, right? That I can buy completely. And I'm sure that the people inside the program knew what was going on with Lyle, and I have a lot of trouble believing that Lyle's imminent departure from the program wasn't part of what led to Darius Baisley's decision to decommit and say all those things in the first place, which would fit the timeline perfectly if April 11th is sort of D-Day on when Lyle's Buckeye career began to end.
Yeah, I talked about this on 97.1 yesterday here in Columbus. I think that you hit the nail on the head there. I think he was already in some type of probationary period with Thad Matta, and he wasn't kicked off the team, but he was told, listen, this is your last straw here. You're on your last strike. And during that time, then he got arrested. And then I think they just said, okay, well, yeah, he quit the team back on April 11th. So you have all the circumstantial evidence that I mentioned. But again, I keep coming back to him posting pictures on Twitter. Lyle himself, last week, posting pictures of himself on Twitter in a Buckeye uniform. I'm supposed to believe he's doing that a month after he quit the team. It just, you know, I mean, my bullshit meter is just going crazy right now. There's just no way the story from Ohio State is as it seems.
Yeah, and you're right there. You're absolutely right there. I think kind of the thought process here of all the minds coming together is leading us to think that something went down in April where Thad told him he was on his final straw. And this is Lyle blowing it, and OSU saying, yeah, he actually quit. We're throwing him off the team. Because here's the other thing, by the way. If he had really quit the team and you're OSU, wouldn't you let the public know, like, right away? In case something dumb like this did happen? Because if Lyle had quit the team and you didn't say anything and we're trying to hide it, that this is an unnecessary national black eye for your program. Otherwise, it would have been former Buckeye player JaQuan Lyle, who was thrown off the team or left the OSU program a month and a half ago, right? That's how it would have led, right? It wouldn't have looked as bad. But the way this is set up, it looks like a current player, a current student, and that's a bad thing.
All right, everybody can rest easy now. We're going to stop talking about Ohio State basketball. We're going to go to Ohio State football, which I know is what most of you want to hear about. But this Lyle story is a big deal right now in Buckeye country. I want to hit on that. But let's touch on some football here. Dallas Gant, number 1 linebacker in the state of Ohio, number 4 outside linebacker in the country, is going to make his decision tomorrow. Looks like it's all Buckeye. You never know for sure in recruiting, but looks like the Toledo St. John's linebacker is going to be a Buckeye back. Your thoughts?
The only thought I have is you said Toledo St. John, a.k.a. Catholic school, a.k.a. the only 10% that would ever really scare me about an Ohio kid, and that's Notre Dame. I agree with you. I think he's going to be a Buckeye. I think Notre Dame's made a push. But anytime you hear a Catholic kid involved, you always have to go, all right, how hard is he looking at Notre Dame? Because we've lost a few Catholic kids in the last couple of years. But I don't think Ohio State loses him. I think he's going to be a Buckeye. And that's obviously a very good thing, like you're saying. I mean, he's one of the highest rated players in America. And it just continues the train rolling, my friend, for an Urban Meyer class that is on pace to be even better than last year's class, which a lot of us at the time didn't know if it could get better than that. So, welcome to the world of Ohio State recruiting, where the ceiling keeps going up, and even already in the stratosphere, it keeps getting higher. So I think he ends up being a Buckeye, in my opinion.
The ceiling is the roof, as Michael Jordan would say. When it comes to Ohio State recruiting, there is no ceiling, there is no roof. It just keeps going. It's endless. Hey, I haven't talked to you since the early signing period was enacted. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. I think I probably know Urban Meyer's thoughts. He's not a fan of this, but your thoughts about this. Do you like the early signing period? It's going to be a 3-day deal in late December, December 20th through the 22nd. What do you think, Bax? You like that?
I hate it for one reason. It would be awesome if it was built in with the clause that if the head coach takes another position elsewhere, the player has the opportunity to be out of their scholarship with no transfer restriction. Because what's going to happen now is, with an early signing period, you're going to have coaches that don't get fired on December 1st. You're going to have coaches that get fired on Christmas. Because, hey, they've got a great recruiting program in place, right? And we don't want that coach around long term, but we want to maintain this recruiting class, right? So they're going to press them, all those kids to sign early, and then what's going to happen is that the school is going to drop the hammer on a coach the day after the signing period ends once those recruits are locked in. That's why you see coaches get fired so early now, so that the next coach can get a head start in recruiting. Well, if you're an AD, your calculus changes completely, saying, hey, if we hold on to coach who sucks until Christmas and lock in this 14th rated recruiting class he has, then we can get rid of him and we can get a new coach, and we already got the recruiting class in place. We don't have to worry about that transition period. So until they say specifically that recruits who sign in the early signing period have the opportunity to sign elsewhere if the head coach of their program leaves the program, then I think it's a horrible thing. I know Urban hates it because he can't flip as many kids at the end who are already locked in, but from a student-athlete perspective, it's the dumbest thing in the world if you're not going to give them the ability to get out of it if the coaching carousel doesn't get factored in. Kids who sign in February these days at least know the coaching carousel has spun for the upcoming fall for the most part, right? If you have kids who sign in December and then all of a sudden you have a coach who loses his job, or they let a coach through a bowl game and then get rid of him because he's locked in the recruiting class, you're going to see that stuff happen. That is absolutely 100% going to happen. So if those kids don't have an out to switch programs before the actual signing day, if their coach leaves the program, I want nothing to do with this. This is just another way of screwing over the student-athlete and giving the coaches another measure of control over their careers.
I like that idea. That clause should be enacted. I mean, if the coach leaves, the student-athlete should have a way out. There's no doubt about that. That's a really good point. Maybe after a year, they'll tack that in there and add that to the new rule. I think that makes a lot of sense. Great stuff, as always, from the People's Champ, Matt Baxendell. You can catch his column every Sunday on Bucknuts. It is The Bucket. Thank you very much, Bax, and thanks to our listeners up tuning into the show. I appreciate it. Hope you have a great day. Let's hear some Buckeye swag. Best damn band in the land.